Hey guys, this is Mitch with Fine Point CGI, and today we're going to talk about making a slime enemy inside of Godot. So we're going to go through the process of setting up our NPC. We are going to go about making it so that it can't fall off of any platforms it's on or things like that. We are going to add in the ability to do damage to the player. And last but not least, we are also going to allow it to kind of collide against the wall and turn around and continue on its way. So that's what I have in store for you guys today. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do is we need to create our slime NPC scene. So we're gonna come up to our scene here. We're gonna click new scene, and we are going to create a 2D scene. We're going to go ahead and rename this scene as slime enemy. And then we need to make it look like a slime. So the first thing that we need to do is we right click, add child node, add in a sprite. Let's go ahead and focus in on that. You can see that we were off a little bit. So now I'm going to come down here to our platform Metrovania. We're going to go to our enemy sprites and our slime, and I'm going to take my walk animation right here, and I'm going to drag that in as my texture. I'm going to come down here to my animation section, and I'm going to go ahead and set my H frames up to the value that makes sense. So in this case, it's going to be 15. So if I go ahead and walk through all my frames, you'll see that he jumps and lands, which is perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. So now from here, we need to go ahead and make it so that he can animate, right? So he can jump up and down when he's moving. So let's go ahead and right click on our slime enemy, add a child node, add in an animation. There it is, animation player. We'll go ahead and add that. And then we're going to come up here to our animation section. We're going to click on that, add in a new animation and call it move. And then we're going to go ahead and click add track, add a property check, and click on our sprite, and we're going to hit OK. And what we're going to do is we will add in our frame as our thing we're moving. So we're going to click on that and hit OK. And then we are going to go to our sprite and put in a breakpoint on our V frame. So breakpoint, we don't need to use Bezier curves. We're going to go ahead and create that. Whoops, not our V-frame, I'm sorry, our frame. We're going to click, and you'll see, weirdly enough, it moved up to 1, and it created ourselves a little animation image here. So if I start going through here and I just hit the key, it will just keep incrementing as I go. So I can just keep clicking, and there we go. Our entire animation is done. I can actually just kind of come in here and hit loop, and then hit play. And there we go. That easy. That's one of the awesome features of Godot, is that you can actually just keep clicking that key and it'll kind of put in each frame afterwards for your animation. So it saves you a lot of time. Now from here, we need to give this little slime guy some collision. So let's go ahead and add that in. So what we're going to do is we will add a collision shape 2D, and you'll see that it says, hey, this doesn't work unless it's an area 2D, a static 2D, a rigid body, or a kinematic body. Now we're going to be controlling this little guy through code, so we're going to want a kinematic body. So let's right click, add in a child node, kinematic body 2D, and we are going to right click this and make it the scene root. So I'm going to copy the name and paste it, and actually I don't need that slime enemy section, so we'll go ahead and get rid of that. There we go. So now it's a kinematic 2D, and what we're going to do now is we're going to click on our collision shape. We're going to add in a small little rectangle shape, and we will make it about yay big. If I go to my animation player and I kind of run this through, oh, I'm getting some errors here. Oh, it's mad at me because it doesn't think that this exists. So let's go ahead and trash this. Sprite, add a track, add a property track, sprite, okay. And let's go ahead and add in our frame. And then let me come over here and just start off at 1 and then run through again. Goodness. There we go. That fixed that issue. And now I'm going to see how high the little guy jumps. He jumps about that high and he lands about that far down. So I'm going to expand this and move it down just slightly. There we go. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I actually don't really need collision to be that big. He just needs collision so that he hits the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. There we go. I think that'll work. So now that we have some basic collision shape, we need to detect if we're on an edge. So what we can do is we can right click, add a child node, and add in a raycast 2D, not 3D. Whoops. It's my fault. Right click, add child node, raycast 2D, and then I'm going to go ahead and name that left raycast, and I'm going to duplicate it and name it right raycast. Now I'm going to click on my right raycast and I'm going to move it over to the right. And for the left raycast, I'm going to do the same thing, but move it over to the left. And then I'm going to take these two and make it so that they only cast to about 10. I don't need them to cast so far down. I don't think it's necessary. And what this is going to do is it's going to say, hey, I'm going to raycast down. And if I don't detect something, then I know this is an edge and I need to turn over and rotate and go the opposite direction. And I'm going to go ahead and enable both of them so that they're enabled. And then let's go ahead and get to coding. So let's right click here, attach a script and call it slimeenemy.cs. And Visual Studio will pop up. Let me make this a little bigger for you guys. And as always, Visual Studio's yelling at me to update. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do here is I am going to go ahead and grab my objects. So I'm going to make some globals for it because it's going to be easier if I do that than if I don't. So like, for instance, if I'm going to be modifying like velocity and things like that, like moving an object, I'd rather have that up here than, you know, as a local variable because it just makes things a little easier. So the first one I'm going to do is my sprite. So sprite. I'm going to do a raycast for my two raycasts. And I will call this one bottom left. And I'm going to do the same thing, but bottom right. So raycast. And then I need to go ahead and do my velocity. So I will say private vector2 velocity. So now I'm going to come down here and type sprite is equal to get node sprite, and we need to point to where our sprite is, which in our case is called sprite. So we'll do that, and then we will say bottom left is equal to get node raycast 2D, and we will say I think left raycast, right raycast, I guess left raycast. And then we'll say bottom right is equal to get node raycast 2D, and we will say right raycast. Awesome. So now we want to move this on physics. We don't want to move it on delta process, because if we move it on delta process, it's not going to move during the physics frame. And I'd rather have everything kind of move on the physics frame versus on my frame rate. It's just a little bit more stable that way. So we'll go ahead and do that. So let's get rid of this. And we will say public override void underscore physics process float delta. And I don't need to worry about my base dot float delta. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some gravity to this. So velocity plus equals gravity, right? So we need to come up with what our gravity is going to be for this character. Now, I'd like that to be global as well. So I'm going to come up here and go private int gravity. Now I'm going to make that equal to about 200 because that's what it was for the player. So I'm going to make it the same. So I'm going to say plus equals gravity times delta. And I forgot it's going to be velocity dot y, not just velocity. All right. So now that we've got that, what we need to do is we need to make sure that we don't go too fast. So we're going to say, hey, if velocity dot y is greater than gravity, then we don't want it to go past that point. So we'll say velocity dot y is equal to gravity. Oops, not grid container. All right. So basically, this is just creating velocity for the character. So when the character can just fall and then it'll land on an object and stay grounded to that object. Now, what we can do is we can go ahead and move our character to the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to give it a speed parameter. So private int speed, and we're going to make that equal to 30. And we'll go ahead and set our velocity here dot x to 30. Or actually, we'll do it to speed instead to 30. That way we can mess with it later. All right. Now, from here, we need to go ahead and move our object. So what we're going to do is we're going to say move and slide velocity, comma, vector2 dot up. And that's just going to allow us to move our character based off of our velocity. And I were to play this, I got a feeling it's not going to work out very well. Well, actually, it's not going to work out because I just, because he doesn't exist on our plane yet, does he? So I'm going to save this as slime enemy. I'm going to come over to our player test scene, and I'm going to drag in our slime player here. So our slime enemy, I should say. I'll drag this in, just throw it somewhere in our game manager area, and let's go ahead and grab him and put him somewhere like here-ish. I think we'll be okay. If I go ahead and I hit play, you should see him going this way. Look at that. Perfect. That's what we wanted. Now, you'll notice that he just keeps going and he just falls until he hits this, and then he just kind of stays, which is good and bad. So we now know that gravity works, so that's good. Now we just need to make it so that he doesn't fall off edges, right? We don't want to make him that stupid, right? We want to make it so he sees an edge and doesn't just fall off. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and shoot out some rays for collision and see if anything comes back. So what I'm going to say is if not bottom right dot is colliding, then I'm going to want to go the opposite direction. So velocity dot x equals minus speed. So he's just going to turn around and move the opposite direction. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but if the bottom left is colliding. So else if not, oops, oh, I misspelled bottom. Bottom. All right. Bottom left dot is colliding, right? Then I want my velocity dot x to be equal to speed. All right, so what that's going to do is say, hey, if these aren't colliding, then go one way or go the opposite way. So now if we go ahead and hit play, he'll go my way, then he hits this and he bounces right back. See that? Simple enough. Awesome. So now we have him bouncing left and right, okay? So now from here, we need to go ahead and tell him to flip his sprite if he is going one way or the other. So what we'll do is we will say, hey, if this is not colliding, sprite dot flip H is equal to true. We're going to do the same thing, but the opposite. Here, we're going to go here and paste flip H is equal to false. And this may or may not be backwards, so let's go ahead and check it out and make sure. Oh, he's going backwards. Yep, he's moonwalking. So let's switch that over to true and false. And that will go ahead and fix that. And from here, now we know that he's moving and he's going to be moving back and forth. So let's go ahead and make him play an animation. So we're going to say, hey, if animation, do I have access? Oh, I should probably make an access up here because I was going to just do get node, but that would be really inefficient. So let's do private animation player, and let's go ahead and grab it right here. And I don't think I would want to do, let's go with animation player instead, actually, because I was going to just do player, but if I do player, then if it needs reference to the player, it would be confusing. So we'll go get node animation player, and we will make it, whoops, this. Animation player. All right. So that should allow us to get access to the animation player, and we'll go here if animation player dot is playing, and we want to say if not, actually, because I did if. Then we want to go ahead and play our animation, because we don't want to play our animation if it's already playing, because then it's just going to overwrite our previous animation that it's playing. And I want it to finish the animation before it continues playing it again, right? So we now can say animation player dot play, and we can do our move animation. All right, so now if we go ahead and hit play, you'll see he's now running and jumping. Awesome. That's exactly what we wanted. So now we want the slime to be able to do damage to the player. So we need to go ahead and set up some collision detection here. So let's go ahead and go into our slime enemy here. And then let's go ahead and right click and attach a child node. And let's go ahead and add in a area 2D, and we're going to right click and add in another child node, and we're going to add in a collision shape 2D, and we'll go ahead and make that into a sphere. Now let's go ahead and drag that out to be something like, I don't know, let's see, if we go to our animation player, we have him jump up. What are we looking at? About yay big. Let's see. Collision shape. If we drag this down and we make it about this big, which is about how big he is, right? And then we go ahead and we make sure that we animate this with him. So let's go ahead and go to our transform and keyframe that, and go ahead and add in a position keyframe. So you can see a little position keyframe going in. And then we will bring this up like that. We'll lock another position keyframe so you can see how it squishes with him. And then when he jumps, we're going to want to get him up to the top of his jump and pull that all the way up like that. And put another keyframe there. And then he's going to fall back down, and you'll see that we now have our little animation here. So if we hit play. Awesome. Now you can see that there's a little bit of finickiness here. I believe it's right. I guess that's okay. I mean, you have that one little snap right there that we could fix up just a tiny bit by pulling this up and throwing another breakpoint and then move to the next one. Yeah, that should be fine. So now if we hit play, there we go. So now the little collision shape will follow the character, so that way you can get hit by him when he jumps up, but when he's down, you're not going to get hit by him, is the gist of what we're trying to do. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and click on our Area 2D, go Node, go into On-Bodied Entered, go ahead and double click that and click on our slime enemy. And let's go ahead and copy this, connect it. And let's come down here and go public void on Area 2D body entered, and taking an object and name it body. Whoops. Taking an object, name it body, go ahead and open and close and say if body is player controller, then we need to go ahead and do damage to that player controller. So we could say player controller player is equal to body as player controller. And then we'll say player dot take damage, and we will give him the amount of damage that we need. Let's see, does this take in? It does not. Okay, so everyone takes 1 point of damage. I forgot if I changed it so that this would take in damage or not. All right, so now if we go ahead and hit play, we come over to our game, we hit play here. We come over here, we jump, get hit by the enemy, and there we go. You can see we took some damage. Perfect. That's awesome. All right. So now we have one last thing that we need to do. And if we go ahead and we take a look at our slime enemy, and let's drag it down here. So let's say it's down in this area, and we go ahead and hit play. And we kind of run down here and fall. You'll see that the slime enemy just keeps going in one direction, and we don't want that. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to put raycast so it knows which direction it needs to go for it to be able to detect if there's a wall on this side. So let's go ahead and close that. And let's go ahead and go up to our slime enemy here, right click, add in a child node, and add in 2 raycasts. So raycast 2D, let's go ahead and duplicate that. And let's call that left middle raycast. Let's call this one right middle raycast. Awesome. So now if we save this, come over here, we can go ahead and add in right middle and left middle. Then we can come down here, we can say left middle is equal to get node raycast 2D quote, and I believe I call it left middle raycast. All right. Now I'm going to copy that. I'm going to say right middle, and I'm going to change this to right middle raycast. So that should match up. So now we can come down here and we can say else if not right middle dot is colliding, then if we look at our bottom right, you can see we're doing velocity speed minus x. So we'll go ahead and do that here. And then we'll basically just copy and paste this as well. And we will say left middle. Oops, not left middle. And actually we'll put, we do need to be colliding. So let's go ahead and do that. And now if we go ahead and save this and we come over here, and we hit play. Oh, it doesn't seem to be working. Hold on. Oh, that's because I'm dumb. Okay, my bad. So we got to take these and we got to move them into the correct position. So left and right. And then we need to go to our inspector, transform Z, rotate this 90 degrees. And it looks like this one needs to be negative 90 degrees. And then we need to do the same thing with our left raycast. So we need to go to transform, rotate this 90 degrees. We need to select both of them and make them about 10 or so. And honestly, I kind of want it to be closer. So I'll put it somewhere like that. And then I'll grab this one and do the same. Because I kind of want them to be really close to the guy. So that way he doesn't, so that way he can get close to the walls instead of being super far away. So now if we let that run, I'm 90% sure. Yep, I forgot to turn them on. I just noticed that. So let me go ahead and enable them. And then let's see what it does. And there we go. You can see he runs and he hits the wall and he turns around. Oh, and I just got hit. Awesome. Sweet. And you can see that he got caught on that. That's the thing I did not expect. Now, one last thing before I call this tutorial done is if we want to fix that collision issue, what we can do is we can come down to our slime enemy, go ahead and take him off of layer 1 and onto layer 2. Now, if we go ahead and we hit play, what's going to happen is our slime guy is going to fall through the world because he no longer is colliding with the world. So what we would need to do is we would need to come up to our tile map here, and we'd have to change this to collide on both layers here with the correct masks. Now, something else that we'd have to change is we'd have to come over here to our left and right middle raycast and change the collision mask to the middle as well. So that's something else that we'd have to make sure we do, although we don't have to, but it would make it so that it collides with the platforms. So we don't have to get rid of these, but we can. And if we do, it will solve that issue as well. So if we go ahead and we hit play, you will see if I drop down here, he's now here. He exists. So that's good news. And he's not being stopped by the platforms. So that's awesome. That's exactly what we wanted. Now, we do need to wait for him to go through a platform. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this go. And we will go from there. Nice. See, you can see that he went right through it. I know it's hard to see, but basically he goes right through it. But that is all I have for you guys today. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Hey, you know, if you dislike this video, go ahead and hit that dislike button because I am here to make content for you guys. Now, this tutorial was a viewer suggestion. As always, I take your guys' suggestions very seriously. So if you guys have any suggestions, go ahead and throw them in the comments below and I'll be more than happy to take a look at them. If you guys have any questions about this or anything that you have seen on my channel before, or you just want to hang out and chat, come by my Discord. Say hello. We would love to talk to you. You know, the group of guys that are there are all really cool people. But that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you all next time. Thanks.